All right, let's move on to issue 4, Weinstein faces justice. The high-profile criminal trial of disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein began this week in New York, involving 5 counts against Weinstein for committing predatory sexual assault and rape. Several of Weinstein's victims gathered outside the courthouse demanding justice. Just as the morning session of the trial began Monday, the district attorney's office in Los Angeles announced new criminal charges alleging that Weinstein previously committed sex crimes against women in California. Meanwhile, corporate America continues its path along the hashtag #MeToo movement, sparking significant changes in America's working culture. Question: has Weinstein's reckoning with justice changed our cultural and business landscape, or is such talk simply wishful form over substance? Clarence.
It's changed things. I think there's a little question about it. It's more than just a punchline now. And a lot of folks, you hear it said by a lot of men, I guess I better be careful about saying anything to women. And I said, no, not anything. Just remember what your mother told you, right. the golden rule, et cetera. It has really gotten to be taken as a serious issue now. I'm amazed now looking back. I'm old enough to remember less enlightened times when a lot of things that we just call humorous brush off jokes or incidents now, you don't say them if you want to have any friends. It's not political correctness. It's just if you want to get along with other people.
Sure. It'd be the developments in front of the courthouse this week were a really big deal. There were a lot of people in front. They didn't even know necessarily as they were gathering that there were going to be very significant charges that were going to be announced in Los Angeles. I think the trial is going to be an uphill battle, to say the least, for the criminal defendant. But how do you see the impact of this playing out?
Well, I agree with Clarence that it has definitely seeped into the culture and changed things permanently. I think men are afraid to even hire women because they know that's going to be a challenge once they're coworkers. They're afraid to be alone with women. They're afraid to have difficult conversations about, their reviews or a challenge in their work relationship, even working together as a team on a product. Everything is it's fraught with potential peril, I think, for a lot of men. So that's very much true. I think that women will have long deserved protections from situations that used to be considered a joke in the 50s, boys being boys. But I was fascinated to see Ronan Farrow tweet that in jury selection, 50 jurors had to be excused because they had read his book, Catch and Kill. Wow. I did not believe that this many months, more than a year later, years later, people would still find this topic so compelling, and I thought that was really telling.
Pat, the pivotal week, I think, that really sparked this major change with respect to Weinstein and then gradually in business and in American corporate culture was that week where Ronan Farrow in the New Yorker and the New York Times also had those articles within days of each other. Where do you see this headed?
Well, it's sort of a cover-up at the corporate levels and things like that. But speaking as a boy in the 50s.
We never did anything like that.
Statute runs. No, what I do think, Harvey Weinstein, of course, some 80 women have accused him of various things. Some are crimes, some are not crimes, even now. I think it's revealed sort of the rotten underbelly of Hollywood and media. These scandals have gone through not only corporations, but they've gone through the media, going through Hollywood. I mean, the Catholic Church, for heaven's sakes, has had some terrible problems, from the last century and still kept bleeding into this century. But I do think the extraordinary sensitivity now, everybody thinks before they, when if you're talking to women, I'm sure a lot of people think, how's this going to be taken? If somebody take what happened to the Justice Kavanaugh, and that one, was it Christine Blasey Ford? A lot of people said, look, she accused this guy. She had nothing on him. They've destroyed his reputation, what they did to Clarence Thomas. There's two sides to this, but I just think there's a real social, cultural, moral war going on, and I don't think either side is totally right always. I think there are false accusations at the same time. There's egregious and outrageous behavior.
Well, let's give peace a chance. That's the thing. We ought to be able to get along here. But yeah, the casting couch is the kind of humor I was talking about. They used to be a subject of cartoons and all that. People don't view that as a joke anymore, as they should not. And now Harvey Weinstein is certainly given
he's
yeah.
paying the price.
I think all this notion that men are scared to talk to women. I think sexual harassment and sexual assault and abuse, there's some pretty clear lines there.
Right.
I really don't think that the genders are at war to that extent that they're afraid of each other in the workplace.
But you divide abuse, which everybody can agree on, from harassment. I mean,
The harassment is the gray area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get in, you
Well-
say, what's going on, and so.
Well, and it was 1991 in the Anita Hill, Clarence Thomas hearings was the first time that many people heard the term sexual harassment. And Clarence Thomas is on the Supreme Court 25 or more years later, and Anita Hill has gotten the respect that she deserves for the statements that she made.
And I would just note that although there are some really remarkable cultural shifts that have happened, and we've seen a lot play out in the Congress, just looking in corporate America and looking in the boardroom, there have been some really significant changes that were really virtually unthinkable 2 years ago. Look at what's been going on with NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Those were rock solid, and now they're just throwing them to the wayside because the price is just simply too high. In the Delaware Bankruptcy Court regarding the Weinstein Company, the company came out and said, we're going to be releasing people from the NDAs because the price on that was just too high. So you're seeing changes with non-disclosure agreements. You're seeing genuine HR training with companies because they realize that really things need to be changed and people need to be more educated. So
That's all positive.
and I think there's already a lot of controversy of what Weinstein has been facing and not facing already. If you take a look at the bankruptcy case in Delaware, he has settled through the Weinstein Company's bankruptcy estate nearly all of the sexual harassment cases. However, the payment of those dollars is going to be coming through a $47 million fund that's going to be covered by the insurance companies, and some of that money from the insurance companies is even going to be used to pay his lawyers. So he's not going to get off the hook, but he hasn't paid a very high price as of yet.
That's the rigged system that
Paid a fairly high
really
price
is
in terms
offensive.
of reputation, I would say.
Right, right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I think that certainly when you try sexual harassment cases today, it occurs in a completely different environment than it did just a couple of years ago. People understand what happened to Matt Lauer and a number of other folks that were probably we can't even really cover in the time allotted here, but hopefully there's been some kind of a new cultural reckoning, and boards of directors in corporate America understand full well that this is serious business.
Right.
Yeah.